In the headlines, President Tinubu called on armed forces to be vigilant to address regional and global threats. Police confirmed the arrest of whistleblower Pidam. Nigeria budget deficit rises to 824 billion naira in April. Flood displaced nearly 300,000 in Bangladesh. Once Heartland coach, Obi. Many thanks for joining us on the main news on Liberty Television. My name is Afno Musa. Now, the details. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has charged the participants of the National Defense College, NDC, Course 32, to be vigilant and proactive in addressing the myriad of regional and global threats. Tinubu, represented by Vice President Kashim Shettima, made the call at the graduation of the participants on Friday here in Abuja. Now the reports.
The president in his speech called on the Defense College to be vigilant and proactive in addressing regional and global threats of insecurity as we progress as a nation. He urged officers to continue to promote democratic values and uphold democratic principles in our country and across the continent.
I'm honored to be here today to celebrate the graduation of all National Defense College Course 32 participants. As Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces,
sustaining excellence, courage, patriotism, and integrity, pledging to ensure adequate support for the institution to move it to its permanent site.
I would like to acknowledge the set of infrastructure at the National Defense College permanent site at POE Abuja. While we have made considerable progress, much work remains to be done. I hereby commit my administration to ensuring the completion of these developmental projects and upgrading the facilities at the permanent site.
The Defense College graduated a total of 101 participants drawn from the Armed Forces of Nigeria and those of other 19 friendly nations. The participants were also drawn from the Nigerian Police Force and other security agencies. And that's the report.
The Federal Ministry of Works has introduced new policies aimed at transforming road construction in Nigeria. The policies unveiled by the Ministry of Works, Senator David Umahi, are designed to address the poor pace of work and improve the service life of federal roads. According to the policy, documents shared with journalists by the Special Advisor to the Minister of Media, the new policies include the introduction of rigid pavement, reduction of claims for variation of price by contractors, removal of consumer price index from contracts, reduction of uniform pricing in each zone. Other policies introduced by the ministry include enhanced supervision of ongoing projects, introduction of whistleblowing with the Ministry of established the Renewed Hope Infrastructure Development Fund and commenced the second phase of the Highway Development Management Initiative. President Bola Tinubu has urged the judiciary to live up to its constitutional mandate and not be swayed by people prone to criticizing it whenever they don't get a favorable judgment. Tinubu spoke at the public presentation of a book titled Judging with Justice, the autobiography of Justice Olukayode Ariwola, the outgone Chief Justice of Nigeria. Liberty News correspondent has more.
Justice Ariwola, who was the 22nd CJN, had earlier retired at a valedictory session at the Supreme Court complex in Abuja following his attainment of 70 years. Represented by the Vice President Kashim Shettima, the President extolled the virtues of the outgoing CJN. Tinubu recalled the reforms and advancement in the administration of justice during Justice Ariwola's tenure.
To celebrate this significant feat with distinguished legal community members and revered personalities, given the considerable impact of His Lordship as Chief Justice of Nigeria within a limited time, there is even more reason to celebrate. His Lordship's long and inspiring career on the bench is a testament to the reward for hard work, dedication and selfless service to the nation and humanity. As Chief Justice of Nigeria, His Lordship Justice Ariwola has used his vast experience and capacity to address the challenges facing the Supreme Court
and the Nigerian judiciary.
Earlier, Justice Kudirat Kekere-Ekun of the Supreme Court shared her experience during having worked closely with Justice Ariwola by quoting from James Baike's Peace at Many Lands, Ancient Rome. When a nation becomes great, it is never by ferocity or falseness, but always by something in the nation that is good and sterling.
In this regard, I will start from a point which I consider to be common knowledge, one we can all attest to and agree upon, and that is that His Lordship, Honorable Justice Olukayode Ariwola, GCON, FNJI, is a great...
In the recent judicial office holders, salaries and allowances Act 2024. Similarly, former head of state, retired General Abdul Salam Abubakar, also commended Ariwola's leadership. And that's the report.
Now we cross over to the education sector, where the Nigerian Education Loan Fund has clarified that geopolitical zones do not influence the disbursement of its funds. This came after NELFund shared that it had released a sum of 2.9 billion naira to 19 universities for over 27,000 students. The fund revealed that universities in the southeast and south-south regions were not included among the beneficiaries, sparking criticism from Nigerians. Meanwhile, the fund acknowledged the receipt of 50 billion naira from recovered proceeds of crime from the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. The head of corporate communication, NELFund, noted that the release followed the directive of President Bola Tinubu in his speech on the 4th of August 2024, directing the EFCC to transfer the funds to NELFund to further boost the student loan program. And still talking education, the Nigerian government has reiterated its year. The Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Mamman, gave the assurance in Abuja while marking his 1 year in office. Phoebe Kure now brings us the report.
The Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Mamman, while speaking, said the ministry will continue to create awareness and advocacy visits to both traditional rulers and clerics on the enrollment and integration of out-of-school children in schools. He also spoke on the continuous review of curriculums at all levels of education to align with present realities.
This is one of the most important of 100 students who graduate from secondary school. Barely 35% of them proceed for tertiary education, whether it is university, polytechnics, or college of education.
Professor Tahir Mamman also speak on the enhancement of security infrastructure in schools at all levels across the country.
We have set up a committee with UNESCO and the World Bank to review the existing policy for teacher support, welfare, and development using global best practices. The involvement of these agencies, international global agencies, will bring on board for us global practices so that for once.
Relations Officer Major Mohammed Maiwada, in a statement, said the initial resumption date for 76 regular courses were from 24th to Monday, 26 August 2024. Maiwada further said the academy, in its effort to allow new cadets ample time to plan their journeys, reviewed the resumption date to 26th of August 2024. He said failure to report on the slated date will result in the immediate substitution of the candidate with a reverse candidate. Now, on the minimum wage, the Adamawa state government has stated paying the 70,000 naira minimum wages to its workers. Newsmen confirmed on Saturday morning that Adamawa state workers received the sum of 70,000 naira as August salary on Friday. The 70,000 naira minimum wage paid on Friday came as the fulfillment of a promise by Governor Madu Fintiri that the new minimum wage would be effective beginning this month. The likelihood of the new minimum wage being paid for August was indicated earlier in the week on Monday, August 19th, when Governor Fintiri gave the assurance to visiting labor leaders. This was later that day disclosed to newsmen by the state chairman of the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, Emmanuel Fashe, after a closed-door meeting at the government house in Yola, when Fintiri gave the assurance. The Director General of the Nigerian Center for Disease Control and Prevention, Dr. Jide Idris, has stated that 10,000 doses of the heinous vaccine for mpox control may arrive in Nigeria in September. However, Idris noted that these doses would be insufficient for a country with a population exceeding 200 million people. He also mentioned that the African Center for Disease Control and Prevention was expecting approximately 30 billion doses of the vaccine and might allocate 2 million doses to Nigeria if a request was made. Idris, in an interview, explained that the doses would be prioritized and distributed by the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency to only vulnerable population and high-risk groups. Federal Ministry of Housing and Urban Development has vowed to explore all possible housing financing options to tackle the massive housing deficits being faced by the country. The Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Ahmed Dangiwa, made this note while briefing on the achievements, milestone, and achievements and activities of the ministry within 1 year in office. Here's the report.
Dangiwa said that on assuming office, an action plan was developed in line with the priorities and deliverables of President Bola Tinubu.
I pointed out that from research, Nigeria's population of over 220 million population with a growth rate of 2.5% per annum requires about 550,000 housing units annually over the next 10 years to meet the housing deficit.
He said the ministry entered into partnership with Shelter Africa Development to deliver 5,000 housing units as part of efforts to provide housing for Nigerians.
We have seen where smaller African countries are taking advantage of those housing development institutions to boost housing for their citizens, while we simply watch. Within this 1 year, we have taken steps to changes. That's why I'm pleased to announce that we are set to sign a housing development partnership with Shelter Africa in the federal housing institutions to make them more efficient and increase their capacity. Increase the housing stock of decent and affordable housing units in the country to meet the rising demand. Thirdly, expand the implementation of the National Urban Renewal and Slum Upgrade Program to improve livability of our urban areas and slums, and streamline land administration and governance through the review of the Land Use Act in conjunction with the National Assembly and state governments.
The housing minister said by recording land transactions and ownership and implementing advanced digital tools and technologies, and efficient land data management and accessibility for all stakeholders would be ensured. He said that the ministry intended on exploring all possible housing financing options to tackle the massive housing deficit faced by the country. In Abuja, Mukhtar Kasim, Liberty News.
The Zone 5 headquarters of the Nigerian Police Force says its operatives have arrested 2 suspected gun runners in Edo State. This is contained in a statement by the Zonal Police Public Relations Officer, DSP Tijani Momo, in Abuja on Saturday. According to Momo, the Assistant Inspector General of Police in charge of the Edo and Delta Zone, Arungwa Nwazwe, directed the mop-up of illegal arms in his jurisdiction as the Edo gubernatorial elections draw closer. Now we take it to Benue State, where security sources have revealed that the 20 medical students who were kidnapped in Benue State have just been released. The operation was coordinated by the Office of the National Security Advisor. The rescue effort involved security agencies including the police, DSS and military personnel, along with the support from Benue State government. Now away from Benue State to Niger, where the acting governor of Niger State, Yakubu Garba, has called on the federal government to urgently redeploy military forces to the Alawa community in the Shiroro local government area of the state. The community was recently overrun by armed bandits. The federal government had withdrawn troops from the area 5 months ago, a decision that has left the community vulnerable to incessant attacks by bandits. Governor Garba's appeal came in the wake of a fresh devastating attack on Wednesday, where 13 farmers were brutally killed while working in their fields in the outskirts of the Alawa community. The attack has further exacerbated the insecurity in the region, leaving residents in fear for their lives and prompting many to flee to safer areas. Still talking insecurity, in its resolve to enhance security and ensure the safety of citizens, Northwest Operation Hadorin Daji, OPHT, has introduced the toll-free emergency line for the public. The Acting Assistant Director, Army Public Relations, 1 Brigade, Nigerian Army, Gusau, Lieutenant Suleiman Umale, made this disclosure in a statement yesterday, Friday. According to the statement, the toll-free line released is part of OPHT comprehensive strategy to combat banditry within the area of responsibility and beyond. The statement also explained that the newly launched toll-free line is available for emergency, complaint, and distress calls. The Army, under OPHT, stated that they were committed to leveraging on innovative strategies to restore peace and security across the region. Officials from the Nigerian Police Force National Cybercrime Center, NPF-NCCC, have apprehended Bristol Tamu BFE, also known as PIDOM. The arrest took place on August 5, 2024, in his hotel room in Rivers State. A statement by the Rivers State Police Public Relations Officer ASP Olumuyiwa Adejobi said he cyber-related offenses and others. The statement further added that the force will leave no stone unturned to continually enforce the law and bequeath to Nigeria a more secure nation. Now to Nasarawa State, where operatives of the Nasarawa State Police Command attached to the Kefi Division have intercepted and arrested a woman, Hawa Sani, alongside a 2-year-old child with dangerous weapons. The Nasarawa Police Public Relations Officer Ramhan Nansel said in a statement today, Saturday, that 124 rounds of anti-aircraft ammunition suspect a resident of Doro Village, Katsina State. According to the PPRO, a preliminary investigation revealed that the suspect received the supply of ammunition at Rafin Senyi Village in Doma local government area of Nasarawa State. If you're just joining us, it's the main news on Liberty Television. To remind you that you can also watch us and catch us live on all our social media platforms. You can find Liberty TV on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Instagram. Still to come in the news. Nigeria's budget deficit rises to 824 billion naira in the month of April. On the international scene, flood displaces nearly 300,000 in Bangladesh. In sports, NFF Mons Heartland coach Obi. Stand by for these and many more. We'll bring to you immediately after this break. Please stay. Thank you so much for 800 billion naira in March. The Central Bank of Nigeria disclosed in its April 2024 monthly economic report. A fiscal deficit is a shortfall in a government revenue compared with its expenditure. The CBN report released on Thursday showed that the deficit was 7.92% higher than the budgeted 764.19 billion naira for the period. The bank also said consumer credit outstanding declined significantly by 53.83% to 3.8 trillion naira at the end of April of 2024 from the level in the preceding months. According to CBN, the expansion in deficit was due to a 0.55% MOM decline in retained revenue to 419.91 billion naira in April from 422.23 billion naira. In Bangladesh have reviewed at nearly 300 Bangladesh and India since the start of the week. The nation of 170 million people is crisscrossed by hundreds of rivers and has seen frequent floods in recent decades. Monsoon rains cause widespread destruction every year, but climate change is shifting weather patterns and increasing the number of extreme weather events. Highways and rail lines were damaged between the capital Dhaka and the main port city of Chittagong, making access to badly flooded districts difficult and disrupting business activities. Still on the international scene, the United Arab Emirates on Saturday said it mediated a prisoner swap deal between Ukraine and Russia that secured the release of 230 captives. Russia and Ukraine confirmed the development on Saturday that they had exchanged 115 prisoners of war age just over 2 weeks after Kyiv launched a surprise incursion into Russia's Kursk region. The exchange came as Kyiv mounted its offensive in Kursk and as Russia eyes more East Ukrainian towns. Both countries thanked the United Arab Emirates, who said it mediated the swap deal. Now we'll be giving you more international news story. Let's join the international news team for more.
A very good day. You're welcome to the international news. 4 prison employees have been killed after several prisoners staged a revolt in a remote Russian penal colony and took hostages, federal authorities say. Special forces stormed the IK-19 Surokino facility in the southwestern Volgograd region after knife-wielding prisoners who identified themselves as Islamic State IS militants claimed to have taken control of the sprawling complex. Authorities say the Special Forces operation had freed some hostages and neutralized all the attackers, but later confirmed that 4 prison employees had died. An unverified image posted on social media appeared to show an inmate holding a knife standing above a bloodied prison guard during the revolt. Russia's Rosgvardia National Guard said snipers shot 4 attackers in the rescue operation. Heavily armed troops were filmed arriving at the prison in footage posted to the Telegram messaging app by National Guard. The attack began during a disciplinary commission meeting, Russia Federal Ministry Penitentiary Service said in a statement. The attackers were said to have slashed guards and wounded several prison staff. The FSIN said 8 prison employees and 4 convicts had been taken hostage. Reports in Russian media suggested that the prison's director and deputy director were among those seized. The criminals inflicted stab wounds of varying severity on 4 employees, 3 of the hospital. The FSN denied that the attackers had taken control of the entire prison, saying the criminals took hostages and occupied 1 single room on the territory of the colony. According to a law enforcement source quoted by a Russian state news agency TASS, there are reasons to say that the taking of hostages was prepared in advance and was well planned. And finally, from Eritrea here in Africa, is still inaccessible to the public today. 3 years later, he secretly wrote a 2-volume book named My Country and sent it abroad to be published. Alongside calling his old boss a dictator and demanding he resign, Mr. Bahrain used the book to challenge Mr. Isaias to a debate on national television. He also called for the reinstatement of the National Assembly's Eritrean Parliament, which has been dissolved by the president in 2002. To this day, there is still no legislative body to hold the government accountable. In 2018, after Mr. Bahrain had published My Country, he was detained and imprisoned in an unknown location. And that brings us to the end of international news today. My name is Andy Ohene. More news is coming your way.
Now we cross over to sports. Edo State-owned female football club Edo Queens have emerged winners of the CAF Women's League. The Nigerian Football Federation has described the death